The indefatigable Chief Justice of the SRC, hardworking majority leader, and honorable members on the majority bench, minority leader and honorable members of the minority bench. I am very happy to appear before this august house in line with convention and protocol to give an honest account of the activities of the SRC and how we are faring in our dealings. I feel proud not only because I would be seen as fulfilling an obligation I am mandated to execute, but I would also be adding my name to the already existing long list of students who, whether were student leaders or not, sacrificed a lot to have a deepened and strengthened democracy at the SRC and also at the student front. Mr. Speaker, I would like to quote Walter Beckhart, who says, "Dullness in matters of government is a good sign and not a bad one. In particular, dullness in parliamentary government is a test of its excellence and an indication of its success." This quote is my small gift to those who are usually quick in questioning the role of our parliamentary council. Mr. Speaker, we are all aware of the unfortunate incident that has taken away the beauty that surrounded a well-planned and organized Hall Week celebration. Mr. Speaker, I would like to re-echo what the position of the Executive Council has been since the dastardly act of wickedness occurred at Outside between students of the university who are expected to know and act in a more behaved manner. Mr. Speaker, I, in no uncertain terms, condemn the act, and I would want to assure management and students of this university that we will do our best to make sure that those unruly and wicked people or students are brought to book. Mr. Speaker, even though a hasty decision to suspend all student celebration on campus as a result of the clash by management, I would like to, on behalf of the Executive Council, communicate to this house as well as the general student body that we do not agree with the decision to suspend all celebrations. We, however, have taken certain steps to restore the celebrations, but as we are at it, we admonish all students to remain calm and also appeal to all students to support us when we call on them. Mr. Speaker, I would like to start my address with the depths of the SRC. Mr. Speaker, I know this is a house of record, and I know what I am about to say would spark some controversy. But when this controversy erupts, the only place I would like to seek refuge is in the records of the House. Mr. Speaker, at the last state of the SRC address by my predecessor in this same August House and floor, he made an emphatic statement that his administration, which is the 2018-2019 SRC administration, was going to leave office without leaving debts behind for the next administration. By then, I was here in this house as the Hall Secretary of Kisley Hayford, and also by then an aspirant for the current position, which I contested and won to become SRC President today. Only for my executives and myself to be caught by surprise that we had to pay a huge sum of 129,200 to HM Boafu for the running of free shuttle for the ending part of the 2018-2019 academic year. Mr. Speaker, with your permission and for the sake of transparency, I would like this August House to expunge that untruth from its record and update the records of this House that the 2018-2019 SRC administration did not leave office without any debts, but rather they left some debts that we came to inherit, of which we have paid a significant chunk of it. Mr. Speaker, the list of debts cleared by this administration or by this current administration, headed by myself, are as follows: 129,200 being payment to HM Boafu for the running of free shuttle for the latter part of the 2018 and 2019 academic year. Mr. Speaker, 6,600 being payment to shops around town that were servicing SRC buses because the buses could not go to Toyota Ghana because we owed them. Mr. Speaker, we also paid 95,000 being cost of procuring lacrosse for level 300 students who did not receive their lacrosse when they were in level 100 in the 2017-2018 academic year. Mr. Speaker, we have also paid about 10,000 to the transport section for minor works that have been carried on the 3 buses that is owned by the SRC. Mr. Speaker, if you sum all these debts together, you would get a total of 252,883 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, this is the total debt that has been cleared by my administration. Yeah! Mr. Speaker, I would like to go off gear a bit for the purposes of the records of this house. Mr. Speaker, each student pays an amount of 30 cedis as SRC dues, where the level 100s who pay that same 30 cedis, 15 cedis is meant or dedicated as a line item for the procurement of their cost. Calculate 30 cedis times 19,000 students and subtract this 252,000. I may be wrong because I've never been good with maths. Maybe that is why I'm a communication studies student. So maybe if you calculate 30 cedis times 19,000, you are going to get around 570,000. So subtract 2. I'm going to mention it this way, so that everybody will get it correct. 252, 883.86. Do the math and see what is left. You'll be left with about 300 and something. Good. So out of this 300 and something, we have paid is what we have left as an administration to run this administration. And there were certain hindrances that came to us, certain unexpected hindrances. For example, HM Boafu took the school to court because a new process was started to get MMT to come and run. That court case alone drained the SRC about 10,000 Ghana cedis as legal fees that were paid just to make a legal representation in court. Mr. Speaker, there are so many other debts which are minor, which comes to us each and every passing day, which were hidden from the students. Mr. Speaker, permit me now to go back to gear and continue with my speech. Mr. Speaker, I would like to remind this House that these debts mentioned are what we have paid as 2019-2020 executives of the SRC. Mr. Speaker, indeed, every administration that takes over the affairs of the SRC for some time now have all paid debts. But Mr. Speaker, I would like it to be placed on the record and for the record of this House that this has been one of the highest, if not the highest, in the history of the SRC, being amount committed to debt servicing or payment of debts. Mr. Speaker, as I always say, I say this is a house of record. So for me, I would boldly say what I have to say, and I will boldly say what is the truth. If after this place you have disputes or you do not agree with what I say, you can come back to the clerk, if I'm correct, to get what I said exactly and then challenge it with what I have. I would like to borrow the words of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. He says, these are hard data and facts. Do not challenge my person, but challenge the facts and data I have presented to you. Mr. Speaker, there is still one huge debt that the SRC owes, and that is to the development section of our school for the construction of summer huts for the SRC around campus. And please, the debts I mentioned, okay, directly, what I would say directly, there may be some other, and this time around I go off gear again, which I'll return back to my speech. The 129,200 is the direct debt. So if I say direct, I mean the direct debt that was handed over from the 2018-2019 administration. You get it? That was just to clear the notion that they did not leave any debt behind. So that is direct. But some of those other debts are generational debts. You need to get them correct. Of course, I will not make an emphatic statement, but in order to be safe, I would say that I may, but it doesn't look likely. It doesn't look likely that I would end my term with debts. But there are generational debts which no president can run away from, whether because governance is a continuous process. Today they do not say Akufo-Addo debt, but they say Ghana's debt stock is at A or B or C. So I need you to get this correct. I said 129,200 and more, because there are some minor works, for example those that I mentioned of transport section, especially as is that 12,000 from the transport section. So you can add 12,000 to 129,200. That is direct from 2018-2019 administration. But there are other generational debts. For example, what I'm now mentioning about the estate section, those ones are generational. Those were started by people who we do not even know. But currently, the debt stock of the SRC looks good. We are doing well. We are currently clearing. And it is my prayer that by the 2020-21 academic year, the administration that will take over from us would not have the kind of huge burden that we had to inherit to clear debts. Now back to my speech. Mr. Speaker, there is still one huge debt the SRC owes, and that is to the development section of our school for the construction of summer huts for the SRC around campus, and this amounts to 143,000 Ghana cedis. It is for this reason that these summer huts have not been in good condition for some time now. That notwithstanding, Mr. Speaker, the SRC is exploring other avenues that would ensure that regardless of the debts owed the estate section, our summer huts, which support students to carry out academic work, would be put in good shape so students can continue to use them comfortably without causing harm to any student. Mr. Speaker, I would like to now talk about the strides we have made in the area of student welfare. Mr. Speaker, in the area of students' welfare, I am happy to report that the SRC has contributed an amount of 19,000 cedis to the creation of the Student Financial Support Office, which is expected to kickstart in the 2020-21 academic year, which is a centralized scholarship scheme that will be run internally here in the school that will support needy, and I repeat, needy but brilliant students within the university. Mr. Speaker, if you go, and I'll go off gear a bit and I'll come back to continue. Mr. Speaker, if you go to some universities in the US, I'll state US specifically, but some of the developed countries, if you go to those universities, for example, when you go to the faculty library, when you go to even the main library, when you go to the Potter's Lodge at the various halls, those jobs are not given to maybe full-time workers of the university. Those jobs are left to students who want to find a way of working whilst they are in school and fending for themselves. Mr. Speaker, that is the kind of opportunity we want to create here in UCC come 2020-21 academic year, of which it has started. Mr. Speaker, I know many would be wondering that this is just going to be like the SEF, where there is a notion that it is usually only available to campaign boys and girls of aspirants who become executives. Mr. Speaker, I am happy to announce that this office is going to be directly under the office of the Vice Chancellor, with a full-time employee of the university serving as the support officer and some supporting staff who will be located at the CA Aka Lecture Theatre to readily assist students that would need their help, especially in the area of scholarships. The board of this office would be chaired by the Pro-Vice Chancellor. The Dean of Students will be a member, Director of Academic Affairs being a member, Director of Finance also being a member, a rep from the Academic Board, SRC and GRASAG, as well as DISAG reps, alumni rep, a rep from the University Legal Session. I guess with the kind of members that constitute this board, I am of the belief that some transparency and fairness would surround the award of scholarship to students that actually need it. So the days of campaign boys and girls chasing people who win to say, Charlie, it's over, it's gone. I think we need to move forward, because if we are in this country where ministers or MPs have been supported to go on conferences and short courses and it angers us, then I think that act of we also cutting corners for campaign boys and girls to also get what readily they do not deserve, then I think that this should be something we should all be happy about and applaud. Mr. Speaker, because of the huge arrears of fees that remained with students from the 2018-2019 academic year, the university management resolved that no student was going to register if he or she did not make any payment at all Therefore, the SRC advocated that a 70% plan be implemented for students so they can register, which was agreed upon by management and was duly implemented. Mr. Speaker, it will surprise you to know that students who even paid as low as 500 cedis, no matter the amount of their total fees, were allowed to register. And I want to hit on this point a bit. So, for the first semester, even if you were, say, maybe an optometry student, where you pay, I'm not sure, but maybe where you pay about maybe 5,000 cedis. As at the first semester what we had, the arrangement we had was that even if you pay 500 cedis, you are going to be allowed to register. That's what it means. Mr. Speaker, the SRC also advocated for longer extension periods for registration and also carried out backlog registration for students who still could not meet the deadlines for registration of courses due to reasons best known to them. Mr. Speaker, as a step in creating a conducive atmosphere for all, the SRC has advocated for all new buildings that are being put up to have or come with structures that are disability friendly. That would enable our brothers and sisters who are differently abled to be able to move around freely on campus without any hindrance. I would like on this note to commend and shower praises on the JCRC of Kisleyford Hall, led by the ever energetic Frank Boachi-Yadom, popularly known as Otunfo, for working on the entrance of the Empire to be disability friendly, since most of the students with special abilities are mostly affiliated to Kisleyford Hall. Mr. Speaker, I am moving to another controversial area which has become so important and dear to the hearts of many students here on campus, here on the University of Cape Coast campus, which is the area of transportation. As I established earlier, Mr. Speaker, this is a house of records, and I would like it to be placed on record that those who have made the running down of my administration their hobby, and also wishing to see us in bad light, that it is never true that it was the decision of the 2019-2020 SRC executives to cancel the free shuttle policy that lacked a clear-cut source of funding. Mr. Speaker, the decision to cancel the free shuttle policy was taken at the 101st meeting of the University Council held on the 6th of June 2019, by which time I was elected into office, but not the representative of the students of the University of Cape Coast on the University Council. The decision to cancel was taken as a result of recommendation that came from the ad hoc committee that was set by the University Council to look into the operations of free shuttle. The committee suggested that free shuttle be cancelled because there was no source of funding for the policy. Mr. Speaker, I would like to say this for the information of all students and those going around telling students that they would restore the free shuttle system, that there is no way they can do that unless there is a clear-cut source of funding that is identified. And also, for their information, the only way you can levy students to pay for such service, then it would be to send to Parliament for parliamentary approval an increase in the university fees. And we all know what will happen should fee schedules be sent to Parliament for approval. Mr. Speaker, since 2016, fee schedules have been sent to Parliament and have not been approved. That is how come we have continued to pay the 2016-2017 school fees. Mr. Speaker, my small advice to them is that lies do not stand the test of time, and also the end result or reward for anyone who engages in lies is disgrace. And this I take from a Frafra proverb. Mr. Speaker, I would like to go off record a bit, and for the purposes of this house being a house of record, I would like to it is not for the consumption of the public, but I think it is for the good of what we do and for the transparency that we seek. This is, I think I can show it to the class. I think this is report of the ad hoc committee on shuttle transport services on the University of Cape Coast Council, University of Cape Coast campus, submitted to the finance committee through the vice chancellor on 21st May 2019. This is it. And I would jump. Okay. Okay, I would jump straight to the composition of the committee. The committee was headed by, the chair of the committee was Prof. Mafu Yadom. I think he was then Dean of the School of Business, because I know the Dean has changed. Then we have Prof. Eric Magnus Womot. He was then Provost of College of Education Studies. We have Prof. Eugene Mafu, Dean of Students. Mr. George Safo, he was then the GRASAC President. John Kodu, SRC President. Elizabeth Yanka, Assistant Registrar Secretary. I'll jump straight to, okay, I think I'll have to read this part too. The terms and reference of the committee. The ad hoc committee was tasked to consider and recommend alternative means of funding shuttle service without charging it against school fees. The report of the committee should be submitted to the Finance Committee through the Vice Chancellor by 30th April 2019. Based on the findings of the committee, we propose 4 options for consideration by management. 1 was pay as you board. 2, bus levy charged against fees. Leverage student fees across all program delivery modes of the university. And 4, a long term to own or operate our own shuttle. Arguments were raised for and on behalf of these 4 recommendations. I'll take them one by one and just to have a bite on it. For the long term to own, there was a time, which is also in the document. The committee did a very good work. Okay, they were briefed on MMT operation. They were briefed on HM operation. They also went to other universities to know what was being done there. They went to KNUST, University of Ghana, University of Health and Allied Sciences, and then they saw the views of some individual students. Yes. So, for example, option 4, for the university to operate and own its own fleet. There was a time in this university where university had buses, and these buses were not even to pay for fuel. So students were supposed to pay and board the bus, and then the bus is giving free fuel. And even with that, surprisingly, Mr. Speaker, they still run. I don't know whether it's into or at. The next word is loss. And then to leverage students means that an increase in fees, which we or management cannot do here on campus. So that means it has to go to parliamentary or go for parliamentary approval, which of course we know what will happen. And the same charge fees. So the best option then was a pay as you board system, where MMT now operates. They bidded, and then MMT was chosen, and then they are now operating. To admit, Mr. Speaker, there were challenges with the free shuttle when it started initially, but I think that there's so many engagements that we had with the university management to make sure that the services of MMT improved on campus paid off. Mr. Speaker, I live at SRC Hall, sorry. Each time I'm moving out, I've observed that once a bus is leaving, another is coming. There are even most times I'm on my way to both sides, I get to roundabout, you will see a bus approaching and then one is also going. So now the waiting time is not so much like it used to be. There have been certain improvements, but to admit, the buses are not so good. The conditions are not so but I believe that at the end of the semester, we should be able to submit a report based on that. Mr. Speaker, it is common knowledge to all members of this House and also those who have taken keen interest in the issues and activities of the SRC that the SRC for some time now did not have a constitution for some years now. Attempts have been made over these years to make sure that the SRC has a constitution in order to make sure that the democracy that we seek to practice is guaranteed and secured. Mr. Speaker, the SRC not having a constitution is now a thing of the past, thanks to the following members who stayed back on campus during the Christmas break to just work on the constitution for the SRC. They to me are the real heroes and heroines of our time. because they have really taught us the meaning of sacrifice and service. Mr. Speaker, allow me to show respect to these heroes and heroines who have indeed proven to us that leadership is service. Mr. Speaker, they are Miss Felicity Senadu Bache, Doris Akalachiba Asandem, obviously the spectacular Vice President of the SRC, Caleb Otabel, our own Right Honorable Speaker, Frank Bwachiyadom, President of Kisleyford Hall, Bright Palam, Kobe Wesley Okwandoho Mensa, John Ajet Nassam, Dogbe Kenneth Achu. Your names are forever going to be written in gold in our minds and hearts. Mr. Speaker, I am happy to report that the Constitution has been approved by the legal session of the school, after which I personally forwarded to the Vice Chancellor through the Dean of Students for onward submission and approval by the Academic Board, after which the Constitution would come into force. Mr. Speaker, I know many would be asking, why has the Chief Justice not been mentioned? Did he not play any role? Yes, he did. He played a very big role in the success of this whole constitution. A very big role. The success of this whole constitution came about as a result of his dedication, commitment to the task assigned him. When I appointed him as Chief Justice, I told him he had only one task, that is to deliver a constitution for the SRC, and that is what he has done. Ladies and gentlemen gathered here today, I do not know how to show appreciation to such a humble and submissive person like him. Many would have turned down this position that comes with a huge responsibility but with little or no reward. But he gladly accepted it and also agreed to work and take instructions from someone who is by far his younger brother and someone who is also by far behind him on the academic ladder. I do not have much to say to him, but to ask for God to continue to bless our school with people with such hearts, dedication and love. I say to you, His Lordship Edward Gordon, you will duly be rewarded at God's own appointed time. Mr. Speaker, on access to internet on campus, I know even the minority. Mr. Speaker, on access to internet on campus, I know even the minority would bear witness to the fact that internet connectivity and accessibility has really improved in the academic areas as well as halls of residence. Mr. Speaker, it is for this reason that I sat in my seat and saw the honorable members who are accessing, honorable minority members who are accessing Wi-Fi now and researching certain things they stand up to say. That is how come Honorable Palam was able to get access to the public document he was talking about. So I'm sure they are already enjoying the good that we promised. Mr. Speaker, I would like to also report that the renegotiation of the MiFi device from 250 Ghana cedis to 150 for continuing students and 200 cedis for fresh students for unlimited internet access anywhere on campus, and even when you are 1 kilometer away from campus, has really helped improve teaching and learning. Today, Mr. Speaker, most classrooms are connected with Wi-Fi, where both lecturers and students can access internet when they need to research and find information to aid teaching and learning, even during lecture hours. Mr. Speaker, it will interest you to know that in previous years or in previous times, students that usually rush out of lecture theaters when we close now stay behind and say they are doing research. Mr. Speaker, it is for no other reason than to stay and enjoy the internet that is now at our lecture theaters. Mr. Speaker, in the area of security on campus, especially in the diaspora, we have continued to support and tool the existing watch group that worked with the previous administration before me, so they can help supplement the work of our campus security as well as the police in providing security to students who are living in the diaspora. And also, especially during exam periods where cases of robberies are usually high. Mr. Speaker, the best way you can be secure is to be security conscious by renting hostels that have adequate security and not too far away from campus. Mr. Speaker, make sure you replace old locks that you meet when you move into a new hostel, and also lock your doors very well whenever you are inside. Mr. Speaker, I won't bore the house with these basic tips because the SRC through its social media handles has been constantly educating students on some security measures that they need to take in order to remain safe at all times. Mr. Speaker, Also, during examinations, the SRC provides what is called night shuttle, where students who come to study at the lecture rooms and also at the library and still want to return at dawn are dropped right at their hostels as a measure to ensure safety on campus during examinations. Mr. Speaker, the SRC has also undertaken some programs that has really been beneficial to the student body. An example of such program is the campus business pitch that was organized by the SRC in collaboration with the Ministry for Business Development to help offer support, training and mentorship to students who have good business ideas that can be supported, and also for these students to compete at the National Business Pitch competition. This program attracted about 300 students, after which a final 3 was selected to represent UCC at the national event. Mr. Speaker, just last week, the SRC also organized what is called the Leadership Summit in collaboration with Dankwa Institute, popularly known as DI, where some seasoned politicians were brought from across the political divide in the country. Mr. Speaker, not to boast or sound too proud of myself and my executives, but I have attended all 3, including what was organized last week, and I must admit that this year's event was one of the most well-organized, well-attended, the most impactful of all leadership summits held on this campus since 2016. Mr. Speaker, all work and no play, they say, makes Jack a dull boy. Mr. Speaker, all work and no play, they say, make Jack a dull boy. The SRC, also as a way of ensuring that students are not too stressed up for their academic work, organized what we call the SRC Fun Night, where acts like Joey B, Papi Kojo, DKB, Tulenke, and others were brought to help us release some stress and tension. Mr. Speaker, a healthy mind, they say, lives in a healthy body. Mr. Speaker, as a way of ensuring that students remain healthy throughout the semester, a health walk and kenke party was organized as part of the Aquaba Week celebration to help students also engage in some exercise that would help them remain healthy and in shape. Mr. Speaker, I can boldly say that all students are healthy and in good, competent hands. Mr. Speaker, in sports, the SRC, through its hard-working sports secretary, is currently organizing what we call the SRC Campus League, where football teams are formed by students to compete for prizes at the end of the day. Mr. Speaker, this promotes peace, sportsmanship, and brotherliness among our sporting populace, and also helps give a boost to our teams that go outside to compete on behalf of the university. Mr. Speaker, a similar competition is also organized for our students who also engage in other sports like basketball, where personally I've also joined my Hawk in Sleaford Hall to compete in that competition. I'm still a very good basketball player, and I'm still a very good handler. Till now, I've not seen anybody who can handle the ball like myself. Unless maybe Mr. Speaker would like to contest me after here. Mr. Speaker, I would like to end. The journey is never ending. There is always going to be growth, improvement, adversity. You just have to take it all in and do what's right. Continue to grow, continue to live in the moment. I thank members of the majority bench for their continued support, and also I appreciate members on the minority bench. I appreciate how you have comported yourselves today. Let's all continue to work for the growth of our student movement, and at the end of the day, we would see the SRC set on a right footing again, where at the end of the day, we would all be proud of ourselves. Long live Ghana, long live Ghana's democracy, long live UCC, long live UCC SRC, long live UCC SRC's democracy, long live the Parliamentary Council. God bless us all.